Well, hello once again, and welcome to episode number 6 of Get Me The Brandy. Dan Potash dialing up long distance with my good friend and colleague, Hailey Hunter, who joins us from Stockholm, Sweden for the Global Series, where the Penguins will play a couple games against the Predators both on Friday and Sunday. Hailey, hello, long distance hi.
Hi, how's it going? Yes, we are an 8-hour flight away, but we made it and it's been great so far.
That's awesome. So again, this is a cool thing that teams have been able to do in the National Hockey League for the last, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 years, traveling to different parts of the world to bring the NHL game to fans in other cities, other countries. So what has it been
Yeah.
like? I know you've only been there for a short while, but tell us about the venture out there. I have to ask you this. When we went the first time in 2008, and I am not whining about this. It was a very nice plane, first class seats. It was okay. But I heard that for your venture out there, that there were pods where players and everyone could like stretch out and like maybe take a nap.
Yeah, so all the players were in the front of the plane and had, the entire the whole setup with first class so they could actually lay back and kind of have their own little sleeping cubby area. But for us, we did all have economy seating. But with that said, it was such a big plane that we actually were able to basically choose our own row. So I just chose my own row of 4 seats, which was the perfect length for me to lay my whole body down and sleep. And most people they chose a row. It was kind of fun, honestly. Like we were having fun with it. Like, oh, what row are you going to choose? And we all just kind of did our thing. And most of us all tried to sleep for about 6 of the 8-hour flight. So it was good. Yeah, it was. We kind of all hung out on the plane. It was like a little mini party, and then we all went to sleep. And before we knew it, we were there. So not too bad. And it was kind of nice to have a bed of our own, if you will.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I'll take that. That's
Yeah.
nice. But of course, the fact that the front part of the plane had a place to actually lounge in is good for them. Fine, so be it. Um, this is not your
I mean,
first
I
trip.
guess they are the ones that have to play. So
You're right. You're absolutely right. You're right. This is not your first trip to Sweden, and I know for me it was. So I jumped on the internet and just Googled Stockholm and tried to do as much homework as I could. But tell us about your first venture and how long ago was it? What were the details behind your trip out there?
yeah, so my brother ended up getting picked to play for Team USA and come here and actually play at the formerly known Globe Arena, which is now Avicii Arena. And that was such an exciting thing because my mom's entire side of her family is from Sweden. 6 hours north of here, it's called Umeå. Definitely a very rural farmland type area, so very different than Stockholm. But because of that, it was a really fun family trip. We got to not only watch him play hockey in a very competitive atmosphere but against other countries, but we also got to make the trip. Probably half of our trip was actually in Umeå visiting all my family. So yeah, we have some old pictures of all of us in front of their house, which almost looks like an old barn, with all of the family getting to meet them for the first time. And my great uncle Martin Lundstrom actually won 2 gold medals in cross country skiing for Sweden, and so my brother and I got to take some pictures with him in the gold medals. And yeah, it was just really cool to learn about my family's history because I grew up in Muskegon, Michigan, where my dad's side of the family was in Canada, my mom's side's all in Sweden. We never really had any family around, so it was cool to actually go somewhere where I have all these cousins that I never met. So yeah, it was a really cool experience. It was very snowy, a lot of snowmobiling and hockey. That's about it for the activities.
Wow.
So it is nice to come now where it's a little bit warmer and you can do more. But yeah, it was a really, really fun time.
I saw a couple pictures that you posted on X, and I think there was one
Yeah.
with, I'm not sure if it was your mom or a member of your family, where you were standing in Old Town with the winding cobblestone
Yes.
streets, and the streets like maybe this wide. But it's cool because
Yes.
I remember there being lots of shops and restaurants.
It's an awesome historic European vibe. I feel like there's a coffee shop or a cafe every 10 steps that you take, which you know me, Dan. I love my coffee. I love my pastries. So I'm actually not surprised that I'm Swedish. It makes sense because that's all I do is go to the coffee shop and have pastries. So when I learn more about fika and the Swedish cultures here, it kind of makes sense. I feel like I'm home in a way.
Well, if you find a special brew that you can get packets to go, bring it home because I'll
Oh,
definitely have
yes.
some of
Okay.
Stockholm's finest with you if it's a really good coffee, but nothing too strong. I can't go crazy with the
Yes.
strong coffee.
Well, I can't either. I always put a bunch of stuff in mine. So yeah, no, I definitely will. I'll have to ask Erik and Rax what they recommend. They'll bring it home.
Okay. You mentioned visiting the castle. Again, flashing back to the Penguins' first trip in 2008. And by the way, I'm teasing ahead here. Tyler Kennedy will be joining us on Get Me The Brandy. He was on that trip back in 2008, and we're going to walk down memory lane with him. But one of the things I remember was that the team took part in a scavenger hunt, which was really well done. And it was a way to kind of get to see the city throughout one day,
Yeah.
but it went everywhere. And one thing that we did one thing that the group was asked to do that we followed was go to the castle and ask one of the guards to take off their hat and put on a Viking helmet and take a picture. And they were stone
Oh,
faced. I can't do that, sir. Absolutely not, sir. Can't do that, sir. No, thank you, sir. It was funny because
yeah.
I remember the
Yeah.
players were trying to convince them to do this, and I don't think anybody got a picture of them with it. And it got a little intense at times because you could tell that the guards were trying to do their job. So that was one fun
Yeah.
venture. But
Oh, yeah.
I say that because I know that you've got some things planned, and you get a chance to
Yeah.
experience the travels with the team as far as doing stuff not only on the ice but away from the ice. So please give me an idea of what's coming for you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, by the way, to your point about the castle and the guards, I did actually go there again to take a picture and video because they had the guards out there doing their and one of like the leaders came up to me and was like, "Hey, you need to be inside this cone. You can't be in this area." So it is very strict. And of course, I shuffled my way over before I started taking my
Yep.
videos again. But for a second, I was kind of scared. I was like, "Oh no, what did I do wrong? Are there no
Yeah.
phones? Everyone else has their phones out." No, it was fine, and yeah, it is cool, the whole atmosphere there. You're right, they don't smile at all, but, yeah, so tomorrow, Brian Rust, Anthony Mantha, and me, and of course, our cameraman, Kevin King, will be going to, the Vasa Museum, which is close by the hotel we're staying at, and so that is where they have a Viking ship. I know you've heard about this, the most preserved, historic ship in the entire world from the 17th century, which is pretty incredible, so we're going to go there, learn a little bit more about that. I'll have to share with you guys a photo
Yeah.
that we can throw up when I was 11. My mom sent me a photo of me standing in front of that exact ship. So I'll have to take a picture and do like a side by side with both of them. Exactly as of today, 20 years, well, close to as of today, about 20 years later, 11 to 31. So yeah. And then we're also tomorrow morning, I'm going to have fika with Erik Karlsson and potentially Philip Larson, who our third goalie for the Penguins, who was called up, is actually from Stockholm, Sweden. So what great timing for him to be a third goalie. But
Yeah.
fika, is just where in Sweden, you sit down and actually spend quality time. We're not in a rush like we are in America with our coffee. You actually sit down, enjoy a cup of coffee with some pastries. Most Swedes do it every day, and you just kind of spend
Oh.
some quality time and have a chat. So I'm going to learn more about some Swedish customs with them tomorrow. And then finally, Rakell and I are going to do kind of a fun walk and talk that you'll see in our pregame shows as well on either Friday or Sunday, just around the city. And he's going to kind of help me get to know Stockholm and then also Sollentuna, where he's from, about 20 minutes outside the city. So looking forward to spending time with our Swedes. It's too bad that Rakell can't play, but don't worry, they're keeping him busy because he came on the trip. So he is showing us around. He's been the tour guide for everybody this week.
So you mentioned sitting down for coffee and that it's an opportunity to kind
Yeah.
of unwind, talk, enjoy coffee, some pastries. But Hailey, you do that all the time here in the States. So you'll fit right in. You spend like 6 hours at a coffee shop on a daily basis, right?
I know, I know. And Raquel actually made that joke with me when I was asking him for recommendations of where to go. He's like, "Oh, don't worry. Like, you could sit down and do work there too," because he knows that's literally all I do on the road trips. But yeah, I guess it makes sense that I'm Swedish, Dan. It's all making sense now. It's all making sense.
So when you got to, I know you guys flew all night and got there in time
Yeah.
for, I think it was the morning in Stockholm. I don't know what time, but you guys went straight to the rink and straight to practice. What was it like see the players kind of looking around? I mean, there was only a handful that had done this trip before. And if I'm correct, it was Letang, Crosby, and Malkin.
Hmm.
So everyone else, for the most part,
Yeah.
is kind of seeing maybe not Stockholm, but maybe that arena. What was the reaction like getting on the ice? Did they have fun? Was it serious? I mean, how do you break the ice after an 8-hour flight?
They were on the ice for like an hour and a half. The guys were just so excited to be in a different country. Like the vibes were really high. They're skating around, having a great time.
Yeah.
The practice rink was really nice. An SHL team, the Swedish Hockey League, actually plays in the practice rink that we were at. And Philip Larson, the third goalie for the Penguins this week, he actually played when he was in high school for that SHL team. And that was really cool for him as well. And of course, right when we showed up, we're all starving and we're a little tired. Casually sitting in the concourse is a bunch of coffee, fika, if you will, and pastries. So that was awesome. I don't know if that's always the case, and they knew that we'd be coming in, but just super casual. So me, Phil Bork, Josh Getzoff, Matt Aaron, we were pumped up, man. We were like, okay, let's just sit around and have fika in the concourse, and that's what we did.
They did set that up just for you, right?
I don't know. It seemed so casual. They didn't even tell us. So I'm like, do they just always do this? I hope they do. It's pretty cool. A great welcome to Sweden.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Well, I know that the team will continue to prepare for Friday and Sunday's game against Nashville, but it's really cool that you have the opportunity to tag along with some of the things that they're doing away from the rink. I look forward to seeing the stories not only on EK65, Erik Karlsson, but Rickard Rakell as well. I think it's really cool that they're in their own backyard. We all know what it's like to go home
Yes.
And have a chance to see family and friends, but it's a little bit different when you get a chance to take the ice and do what you do for a living as well. So I think it's very cool, and we look forward to all the stories that you have coming back home in the next couple of days.
Yes, Dan, thanks so much. Looking forward to bringing all the stories to you guys, and have a great rest of the week. We'll see you on air.
Okay, Hailey, thank you.
Inside Penguins Hockey is back
Let's go eat sushi.
for an all-new season.
And now he's your best friend.
Yeah.
Getting a line in the water is always a joy for me.
Inside Penguins Hockey. New episodes every month on SportsNet Pittsburgh. Presented by UPMC Health Plan.
Welcome back to episode 6 of Get Me The Brandy. And now joining us, former Pittsburgh Penguin and currently a member of our broadcast team, Tyler Kennedy. TK, what's up, buddy?
Not much, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I cannot complain. And I have to be honest with you, we just had a chance to visit with Hailey Hunter in Stockholm, and I have totally flashed back to our trip 17 years ago. My goodness, I'm old, but you look good. 2008. It was something that a lot of teams were experiencing for the first time. What was your first response when, like, okay, we're getting ready for the season in the summer, and all of a sudden you find out, hey, we're going to start the year in Stockholm to end training camp and play the first 2 games of the season against Ottawa?
It was exciting. I never played over in Europe hockey. So when I got the opportunity, and for me, I was still trying to really break into the league. I obviously was up half the year before. So I was kind of taking it all in stride. And when they said we're going to Sweden, and we went over there early, we had a couple exhibition games in Finland, and it was just so fun, from just exploring the new places that we've never been before. I felt like it made us closer to the team, and we had so much time together. And you got to give, I have to give a lot of the credit to the staff of the Penguins for making it exciting. We had treasure hunts. We had great dinners. We really explored the cities that we were in. So I was super stoked to get over there and do all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so before we get to the games, because that was almost like the end of the trip, or it was towards the end of the trip, you mentioned the treasure hunt. It was a scavenger hunt that I thought they did an excellent, the group that put it together out there in Stockholm. I mean, and I didn't follow your group, but I followed Matt Cook's group that also had Jordan Stahl and Max Talbot. You got to see so much of the city in like an 8-hour span because the scavenger hunt sent you everywhere and asked you to do some crazy things. What do you remember about that experience in the group that you had, and maybe some of the highs and the lows?
Yeah, it forced you to go see different places that maybe you wouldn't see on a day off or whatever. It forced you to go all over the city. I had a great group. I had Goligoski, I had a bunch of guys, and Sid, and we just made it so much fun trying to figure out where to go, finding when you go over there, it's a lot different than in the US. There's a lot of, the signs are different, the culture's different, but from jumping on the boat to going to see museums, all that stuff was great, and again, I feel like when you do those kind of events, you really become closer as a team. You see guys outside their element. You see guys really in their day to day. In their life outside of hockey. Because sometimes when you play hockey, you really only see certain guys at the rink. Guys with families, guys that are busy. You don't. Outside of hockey, you don't see them that much. So when we did that scavenger hunt, you really got to know the guys better. And then when you add all the other fun things about going to see the museum, seeing how guys' brains worked besides hockey was a lot of fun. Again, when you think of Sid, I feel like his brain is so, I always thought Sid was just like a hockey mind. All he thought was hockey. But when you see him in certain situations, you're like, no, this guy is like, he's like just very intelligent, very bright, even outside of hockey, and just seeing that was an eye-opener for me. Because again, I was a young guy coming into a team that had a lot of older guys, a couple of younger guys, and I never knew what to expect. I didn't know. It helped me get closer to the team coming into the team. So it really helped me, and it made it fun to be part of the team.
Real quickly, I mentioned this to Hailey, and I remember going along with Matt Cook's group. Do you remember the stop at the castle in Stockholm, where one of the things that was on the checklist was to ask one of the guards to wear a Viking helmet? But they're there manning the castle. Who took it upon themselves in your group to see if they could get that done? Because I don't think anybody got it done.
No, because I think it was someone in our group said it's like you're not allowed to ask them or something, because that's like they're there to protect the castle, right?
Yeah.
So they didn't talk much. They didn't do nothing. So for us to do it, I don't think we got it done. But I know there was some rumbling. Guys were saying, guys, they're not allowed to take their own cap off and put this like, right, this Party City cap on, and so we never figured that out. But like, it was there was a lot of discussion, a lot of trying to communicate with the guy, because he just stood there and he never said anything, right? Yeah, he just stood there, and I feel like a lot of us watch enough TV to see like and understand that he wasn't allowed to talk or even really get out of character. So we never broke it. We never got him to even like talk to us. It was something that we as a group failed in. So it was again, it wasn't an easy treasure hunt. It wasn't an easy challenge. It forced us to like really think, and again, hockey players, we're so surrounded by hockey that sometimes it's hard for us to think in the real world.
Easy. Come on now. Give yourself a little credit. Let's go now. Come on.
In that way, we all figured out because we have no choice, but you get it.
So again, it was unique because we were there for 10 days and we started, it was the last few days of training camp and then the 2 games to start the season. So what are your thoughts about what the Penguins are currently doing, where the season's already 15 games in or so, and now they take this trip? Can they have the same kind of bonding experience, considering that this is something that is happening once the team's got off to a great start. So there was already a good buzz and a good feel about going out there. But what are your thoughts about doing it a few games into the season?
I think it's great. I think the whole going over there as a team, I think, one, it helps your young guys and your newcomers become closer to the guys that have been there for a while. It forces the Kindels, the younger guys, the guys that just come in, the Witherspoons, the guys like that, to be around the team more and to be more welcomed. And I think it helps so much, the newcomers on the team. I think it adds a spark to the veteran guys. It breaks the monopoly of just playing the same thing, going to the same places. I think it adds some excitement to the veteran guys. So I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's great. I think it's going to help the Penguins become closer as a team. Again, fill up their batteries. I know it's a long trip, but there's an excitement you get as a veteran player playing somewhere different. Again, these games are great. The games are in Europe, the Winter Classics, the outdoor games. I think it adds a spark to a veteran guy that's kind of done the same thing for a long time. And it being 15 games in, I still think it's a good time to do it. I don't know about the end of the year, but at the beginning when you want your team to bond, I think it's a great, honestly, a great week for them.
So in talking about the beginning of the season, and I'm going back to '08 again, where the first two games of the season were played against Ottawa, you mentioned you were in your career a chance to kind of, grow with this team. You're still very young, first trip out playing somewhere else in Europe, on the other side of the world, but you got a chance to be a factor by scoring in game one against Ottawa.
Yeah.
How much, and I'm pumping your tires big time here, but
yeah, I know.
rightfully so. How did you feel? Like you had all this fun on this trip, you're bonding as a team, you're eating like a king, or at least I did because the food out there was phenomenal. But then you score.
I actually got 2, Dan, I think.
I know you did. I was going to let you set the stage. I'm not forgetting.
Okay.
I'm not forgetting.
No. Again, I was a young guy still trying to break in the league. To score those 2 goals and to score 1, it just takes that pressure off getting the first one out of the way for the year. And then to do it in Europe, it was special. It's one of those things that, like, I still watch TV and they throw some clips up and I see them like, oh, that was in Stockholm. What a great game. And it's just funny looking back because I was so young, just full of energy. But when you score early in the season, it helps so much to get your confidence going. And to score those 2 big goals, I felt like it kicked off my year the right way because now I was like, okay, now there's no pressure to get my first goal. So that was, as crazy as it sounds, those were like really big goals for me because I was like, I needed to find the confidence to play well. And when you score, it automatically comes.
The road to puck drop begins on Penguins Tonight. A first look at the latest game news, stories from around the league, and so much more. Penguins Tonight, 1 hour before every game on SportsNet Pittsburgh. Presented by Morgan & Morgan.
It was a special start to the season back in '08, and I want to talk about the current team and how special things have been for this squad when it comes to special teams. And let's start with the power play. They have done a fantastic job to start this season, and it had to do it with some new personnel, with injuries and still trying to find some chemistry. There's been a little bit of a rotation, not on a game-to-game basis, maybe, but certainly over a stretch of a couple of games. Your thoughts before we break it down completely. What stands out most about the way that they've started with the power play, which has been around top 5 for most of the season?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. I think, one, they're being a little bit more selfish, right? They're keeping it simple. They're getting pucks on net. I think the big problem they've had in the past, and I think Jaromir Jagr said that they were too nice. They were always trying to make the pretty play. They're always, I should know. Let me make a backdoor pass to another Hall of Famer. I feel like now they're really keeping it simple. They're making the right plays. They're not forcing anything. I think there was so much, pride. There was so much, expectations on them to do so well. I think it backfired because, again, I think they were being just too nice. And now I just look at it as it's like Hall of Famers keeping it simple, and that's what works. And then you start adding guys like, Kindel. He's making it work. And another guy, I know I'm a little hard on this guy, but Karlsson's been great. Karlsson, when I see him and the way he's playing and the way he really turned it around this year, you got to give him a lot of credit. When I see him cross over the blue line, dragging the puck, he is the best guy in the league running a power play, crossing over again pucks through. His quick release, his crossovers, the way he moves, I got to give him a lot of credit because he's a big influence. Obviously, Sid and Gino. again, there was so much speculation that the Penguins weren't going to be good and the power play wasn't going to be good. And I feel like they are thriving off that. They're taking that motivation and they are running with it, and that's why they're successful. Again, they're doing so many good things, and it goes back to keeping it simple and not overpassing the puck and playing the right way.
So if you were facing that power play, and you've done some penalty killing in your time, would Karlsson be the guy that you would key on the most, or who's the guy like, hey, we need to disrupt his game on the man advantage to keep them from scoring a goal?
Honestly, it's hard because you look at their, like, I always imagine when I was on San Jose or, Long Island or New Jersey, and I'd look at their lineup and I'm like, wow, Hall of Famer. And then you put them on the power play. And those guys have so much talent that there's not a guy that you're like, hey, if he fumbles a puck, like, I can get a step and clear it. Like, these guys, they're so good at sucking you in. Like, I don't think there's one guy, maybe Kindel because he's young and you feel like you got to go after him, or, but
Yeah.
you have to respect them so much that there wouldn't be one guy. Again, that power play, the guys on that power play, their careers, you look back, they get some time just because of what they've done in the league, and they're making it, they're making other teams pay for giving them too much respect, too much time. Or again, you see some guys like Sid or, Malkin, they'll draw guys in and suck them in like they're out of place to open another guy up to get a shot off. That's the talent we're talking about. So I don't think there'd be one guy. I'd be just happy to be on the penalty kill, to be honest.
Well, so it can't just be one unit that does well, right? If you're going to have be special on special teams, it can't just be the power play, it can't just be the PK, it's got to be both. So what has stood out most about the way this unit or this team has been able to kill penalties? Because that's something that's significant in a team's success, and the Penguins are currently having success.
Right. Well, it goes down to personnel, right? When you look at the Penguins' fourth line, right, and you look at their penalty, Lizotte, like, when I look at their lineup and when I look at their penalty, they're true penalty killers. They're not guys that are in the top line going on the penalty kill just to fill in. These guys that they have in place on the penalty kill, they're legit penalty killers. Lizotte, like Akari, like all these guys, this is part of their job. They're not mixing in guys that shouldn't be on the penalty kill, and they're doing a great job. I think that's a big factor. That's why I think they've been successful. Goaltending's been a lot better. Again, your penalty kill is only as good as your penalty is only as good as your goalie, and their goalies have been playing a lot better this year. So I think that helps out a lot. So those are the things that I think are really working for the Penguins: personnel, including the goalie, and guys blocking shots.
You mentioned Ben Kindel, and I want to touch on the way he has started his season. And there's many different things we can look at. Here's a guy that made the team, was not sent back to his junior squad, third line center, top line wing, now a presence on the power play. Generically, here's a guy that's still 18, and back in the day, you played along Jordan Staal, who made this team as a kid. What similarities do you see with someone so young having so much success so soon in their career?
It still like shocks me. It still is surprising to me that they can play at such a high level and think at such a high level at 18. When you really think they probably hit puberty 4 years ago, like they're 14 4 years ago. That's like insane. They were in high school, a couple years ago. Now they're playing with the best players in the world. And when I see Kindel and I see Jordan Staal, the one thing was their ability to think with the puck, their ability to play with confidence, and the stage was never too big. When you see this Kindel kid, he handles the puck and he doesn't just try to get rid of it. He tries to make plays I think the way coaching staff has been using him, again, they threw him on the third line. I think they wanted to see how he was going to do. Instead of just throwing on the first line in the first game ever in the NHL, they let him work into it. And I think when they did that, it helped them get some confidence, and then it ran from there. And no matter what, I don't care what anyone says, when you score in the first 15 games, Jordan Staal did it early in his career. When you score early, just like Kindel, how many goals Kindel have? 4? What does he have? 5?
5.
5 goals before Thanksgiving. That confidence that brings that confidence really instills in a young player that he belongs. And I think those goals, him scoring early, has helped him so much. And now he's riding that high wave. And again, when I see him play, it's that IQ, that thinking like Sid, making those little plays. Again, I feel like when you see guys that just break into the league or guys that just get called up, they get the puck and they get rid of it. They don't try to make plays. They don't stick to their game. These guys like Staal, like Kindel, they believe in how they play is going to make them successful. And that's what Kindel's doing. Again, he's shooting the puck. When you have a guy that's going to the Hall of Fame, maybe one of the best players ever, backdoor, and he's shooting the puck going bar down, like that's believing in your game. That's believing in your talent. And that's what separates guys that make it and guys that don't.
So he's like a sponge right now. And it seems like the more he takes on, the more he fits in. But at the same time, is there an element of his game that you would like to see some growth? And I think, I asked that knowing that he's still seeing a lot for the first time. So maybe experience is what he needs the most. But if there's one portion of his game you would like to see him focus on, what would it be?
I think it just the little plays. When you see Sid and Malkin, they know when they're at the end of a shift when to get rid of the puck. Or a big one for those stars that I think he still has to learn is who's he on the ice against. Is he on the ice against a guy in Philly who's going to try to run him where he needs to get rid of the puck just a little bit earlier to prolong his career? I think those things will come with time, but I still think you don't learn those until you get rocked once or twice or you've been around the block. Those things will come with time. And again, when I see him play, I'm like, instead of taking that hit and making the play, just get rid of the puck early and get to the bench. Those little things I think he needs to get better at. But again, he's 20 years, like he's 18 years old. That still like blows my mind. That's like insane. But those are the things that learn over time.
Yeah. And it's not just him. Like, he's not the only kid on the team, right? You've got Harrison Brunick. Now Sergei Murashov, who's older at 21, older. But I think the fact that he's not the only young guy, and I don't remember the exact age of all the guys on the roster when Jordan Staal made the team, but I think he was the center point of that youth. The fact that he's sharing it with others, he can, when he's kind of scratching his head, and I'm saying Ben Kindel, about something, he can bounce it off Harrison, because they're going through the same thing together. Does that help? Do you think that helps them feel a little bit more comfortable knowing they're not the only young star on the team or the young guy?
100%. I think it's hard for a guy like Kindel, Murashov, Brunick. It's hard for them to talk the speed of a Sidney Crosby, who's been there for 21 years. That speed in which they talk, they're into different things. Like what Kindel would do after practice and what Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby and guys with family is completely different, and that's where it helps when you have other young guys, because I don't think Kindel, Brunick, and any of those guys, I don't think they're at home going, hey, we're going to make dinner for the family. We're going to be in at 5. We're going to bed at 8:30. Those guys, they're calling each other going, hey, where are we going for dinner tonight? Hey, do you want to come over for dinner? They're doing stuff together because, again, when you're a young guy and you come in the league, you're a kid and you're playing with men with families, men that when they leave the rink, they have other responsibilities. But when you play with another young guy, he's going through the same transition of, okay, I'm on my own. What am I doing for dinner? And you start having fun with that. You start having that youthful energy. Like, what are we doing? Because again, as you get older, you need to rest more. Those guys, after practice, they're usually doing stuff. They're having fun. So the more young guys you have around, it just helps with the off ice stuff too. The staying busy, the finding activities, the finding, places to eat. Because again, when I was young, we'd be calling me, Stahl, Orpik. We'd all go for dinner, and we had a little group of Talbot, and we always met somewhere, but it kept your mind, I guess, occupied, because there is a lot of downtime, and it is lonely after hockey, right? Not so much for the older guys, but for the younger guys, it does get lonely, because when you go home, no one's there. A lot of these guys don't have girlfriends or families. They go home and they're in a new city. They're like, well, what do I do? But when you have other guys, you find stuff to do. And that's what helps. Again, when their mind is busy and it's occupied away from the rink, it always helps at the rink. So more guys, more young guys, just it keeps them out of trouble. It keeps them a little bit more focused.
You talk about guys trying to fit in. You get people from different parts of the world, different parts of the country, all in one room, a group that can find a way to not only get along successfully on the ice, but as friends as well. And sometimes that can lead to special things. And this year we're looking back at the 10-year anniversary of the 15-16 Cup. And one of the character guys, one of the guys that was important on the Penguins' success, or with the Penguins' success, was Pascal Dupuis. And you had a chance to play alongside him for a little bit. What was your first impression of Duper when he joined the team, and what kind of guy he was and what kind of player he was?
He was a guy, and I feel like every kid should look up to, right? Like, he was a guy that was always like a third. Like, when I knew Duper, he came in as a third and fourth line guy. And then when he left our team, he was a top left winger or right winger on Sidney Crosby's line. He's a guy that I don't think I've seen a guy maybe work on his craft so much as an older player and not be satisfied with just being how he was. Again, he was scoring 25 goals at the end of his career. Like, he found his game, and Duper was always the guy on the bike after a game. He was when I think of my career, like, he was one of the guys that was in the best shape ever. Like, he was never tired. He was always like an animal in the gym, and on the ice, he was like a jacked reindeer. He has so fast, hard shot, and he figured out, which was maybe the hardest thing for a guy from the third and fourth line, how to play with Sidney Crosby and play those elite minutes. So Duper's a guy I looked up to, a guy that I tried to keep up with. It was extremely hard, but he did it all on the ice and off ice. And then he was a guy that when we needed a laugh, he would give us a laugh. When we needed a spark in the room, or if we needed, someone just to like relax us, and that goes with him, Billy Guerin, but he was a big part of the leadership group on when to be serious and when to like have some fun. And that's what made Duper really come into his own when I met him, right? Again, he came in, he was a healthy scratch in some of our run in 2009. And by the end, he was like, no, he is like our top, I think he's a left winger. He was our top left winger. And I'm like, this guy put in the time, this guy. And then you start putting the pieces together, like, oh, he's at the rink first. He already got a workout in. He eats healthy. He's figuring out, he's watching tape. That's what I remember of Duper. And that's why I loved him. I thought he was, we had some run-ins, but he was a guy that I always respected, a guy that figured out how to move up and how to play well with the top guys.
And he also had that heavy shot from the dot as well. When he would come down the left wing using that. Yeah. He would use his speed and then fire that shot. It was crazy.
He was a horse, dude.
You talk about getting a laugh, and I don't know if fans, if they do remember, I don't know if they really are aware, and it's because you and I, you so more so than myself, but had a front row seat for a room that had Talbot, Dupuis,
Oh,
and Fleury. I mean, if you can't laugh in that room and have
oh.
fun, or at least keep your head on a swivel because you never know what was coming,
Mhm.
that's golden. That had to be golden in having a successful room when it came to personalities.
Oh, I can tell so many fun stories. Like though
Oh,
Pascal would have this, everyone would be sitting around in the dressing room, and Pascal would come in like just his jock, and he would do this dance. And I'm not gonna tell what kind of dance it was, but he'd be dancing around the room, and our whole room would be laughing, crying, just because it was awesome. But it made me want to go to the rink, or it made me want to go to rink every day, hoping he was going to do it. Or like even the little things of Pascal chirping Matt Cook, like, just saying funny things and them going back and forth, or like, Pascal and, Flower, Talbot, like chirping Sid, like making fun of Sid about, some things of like how big Sid's legs are or his jeans he wore that day. And I think that's what made Sid feel comfortable too, because now when you look at Sid, like, I don't know how many guys on the team are throwing jabs at Sid because of what he did, but when I was there, Sid was just like one of the other guys. If he came in with a bad shirt or a weird haircut or, whatever, like he was getting it, and it all started with some of those guys like Talbot, like Fleury. And when you think about Flower, like he was a guy that when I was when me and Tanger were rookies, he was a guy that we were like the guys he pulled the pranks on, right? He was the first guy to ever screw my shoes into the tape or into the locker, and he was doing that. But as much as I didn't like it, I loved it because I felt welcome. I felt part of the team, like he knew who I was. And that's what makes those guys critical and special on a team, making everyone feel welcome, everyone feeling comfortable. There's always a special place for guys like that.
before we wrap things up, I wanted to ask you about this. And a lot of the questions that I've asked you not only as a former player, but I think sometimes I've put you on the spot as if you were a coach. But
Mhm.
in a way, you actually are a coach. You're working with youth here in the area. You've made Pittsburgh home. You're doing a lot of stuff with camps. Uh, Talk a little bit about how what what kind of fulfillment do you get from doing something like that? Having played at the ultimate level for as long as you did, winning a Stanley Cup, and now trying to shape young athletes to play the sport that you grew up loving so much.
Well, when I retired, I felt like I needed something to fill my days in, and for a player that went right from junior right to the NHL, I never had any schooling, and you're kind of lost after your career, right? You really don't know because you've been on a schedule from the time you were 15, even younger, till the time you retired, from what time practice. So when it stops, I needed something to fill in my days. And I remember my wife, my mother-in-law, they're like, you have to do something that no one else can do. You have been you are a doctor at hockey. You know every little thing, breakouts, you know how to teach, everything. Obviously, there's a lot of learning lessons of how to break down, you know, simple plays or simple techniques that it took me a little while learning under Ty Hennis that really helped me with that. But what I think makes me really good, and I feel like I'm an elite youth hockey coach. Like I feel I'm so confident in what I do, and it's not because of why I played. It's because of who taught me. When you make the NHL, you are surrounded by the very best. When I think of how I teach, if Dan Belsma or Todd McClellan came to one of my practice, I hope they would say like, "Wow, that's the energy that I hope they got from me." That's the kind of games, that's the kind of enthusiasm TK has that I hope I had teaching TK, because I feel like the way I teach and the guys I've been around is the difference of why I'm so good at it. And that's why I love it. I love when I went to practice and Dan Baalsma was hopping around the ice, making plays, blocking shots with no gear on, pouring water. Like, it made me want to go to the rink every day and get on the ice with the coach. And that's what I really hope my kids and my students get, is like, they light up when I jump on the ice, because I try to bring that energy that was taught to me. And that's what fills that hockey void, getting on the ice at 6:30 in the morning and bringing that energy, that knowledge that I got from, I think, the best coaches in the world.
So you learned a lot from Bylsma when it came to, I don't know, mustache boy, burrito boy, car wash boy.
Yeah, well, again, that was the stuff that you look forward to, right? That's the stuff that, like, made us such a close team.
I
Like,
agree.
there wasn't a guy when we did the shootout mustache boy, there wasn't a guy that wasn't involved in either trying to sewer the guy like Matt Cook from getting mustache boy, or, Flower letting guys win. And just the whole team was smiling doing that. And that's why Dan was such a great coach. Those little things, and I look back at my career, those little events were the difference between, I feel, a championship team and a team that just goes there like it's another day, right? Every guy would go there expecting the very best out of each other and making it fun. And it was, again, I look back and there's not a team I played for that can compare the fun and the competitiveness to practice and going to the rink every day. I wanted to go, especially on mustache day, especially all those days. There was a lot of things. We had the one, Dan, remember The Biggest Loser? Remember we did The Biggest Loser? That was like insanity, right? Like, how much weight those guys lost. But when they came out with just their underwear on, shredded, it was like an event. It was like a pay-per-view event, but that was fun, because again, when you do the same thing over and over, it gets repetitive. But when you add those little things in, it's not like you're going to a job every day. It's like you're still playing a game and getting paid for it. It was really cool to be part of.
Yeah, it was fun to watch the show that I got to watch as well. TK, thank you so much for your time. Obviously, talking about the current Penguins, the flashback to Stockholm in 2008, remembering some of the players from the 15-16 Cup team, and of course, what you're involved with as well. I look forward to sitting with you in the studio as we continue to break down the Penguins throughout the season. Tyler, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun.